Good day. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole, chilling on the porch. And I decided to do something called Wonder Wednesday. We had a little interruption. Yeah, I decided to do something called Wondering Wednesday. But it's only because I was wondering whether I'm going to do it or not. Or what time exactly I'm going to do it on Wednesday. I haven't exactly decided. So we're going to call it Wandering Wednesday, only because I'm wondering and wandering through different thoughts and stuff, right? I have this thing on here where it's so dark. There, I hope you guys can see me better. All right. Okay, so what have I been wondering about? When you wonder about things, it gets pretty interesting, right? When I was a child and I was in Sunday school, we were Episcopalian, and that's like a step down, I was told, from being Catholic. And there's all this standing up and kneeling going on and stuff when we had service, and then there was Sunday school. And I had asked a question. Because you have all the sex is a sin and the negative connotations of women. Good day, love. Hi, family. Glad you could join me. I had just started talking. We're doing Wondering Wednesdays because I'm wondering whether I'm going to do this on Wednesdays or not, or who would actually want to be there and what time and stuff like that. And just things that I'm wondering about or happen to bump into in my studies, right, in my lifetime, some of my lessons. So I want to share them. So I'm going to call this Wondering Wednesdays. The question I had when I was a child in Sunday school was, if Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel, right? How did they have children if Eve was the only woman? And anyway, I got kicked out of Sunday school. I got a little distracted because my screen went dark, and I've been noticing in my filming that sometimes there seems to be like a overlay that happens to my filming where everything is coming out dark. And it was just, I was just hoping it would get better and you could actually see me this time. Okay, so those are some of the things you wonder about, but that set me on a whole journey. I was kicked out of Sunday school for asking that question. And I felt ostracized, that you should be able to ask questions. In my studies, some of the things that I've been wondering about is the conversation of music. So I'm looking into it. One of the things that, as a person that gets overstimulated by the exterior noises and stuff, I'm very affected by my environment and what's going on in it as an empath and just somebody that pays attention. So I'm aware that our environment affects us. I've talked about that. How everything is frequencies and stuff, and how we're made of over 70% water. There's parts of our body that are made up of more percentage than that, but then you would have to break it down in a percentage. And the bottom line in general is that we're over 70% water. And that water can be programmed. It's programmable. So we're very affected by sound. So as a person who gets overstimulated by the environment because of my personality style, it drew this big curiosity in me. Just like when I was a child and I was wondering, well, where did Cain and Abel have children if there was only Adam and Eve, and incest and, is a sin? Can we talk about incest? No, that was a topic. I was going too far in. I got kicked out. Kicked out for asking questions. And that always seemed retarded to me. But the whole system of things said that I was out of line because I asked a question. I was a naughty little girl. Matter of fact, I was depicting the Jezebel spirit. For even inquiring about such things as sexual interactions between men and women, and asking that kind of question due to the biblical reference and that we were having with this lineage and stuff. I was wondering where did it come from? If there was no other people on the earth and it was just Adam and Eve, okay? So as an adult, yeah, I'm inquisitive about all the different sounds and stuff once I learned how much they affect us. And I was looking into the conversation of music. I was listening to this show, Urban X, Black Dot is doing. I think it's his son. And he made a comment about digital sound being, you know, zeros and ones, and that fit right in with what I was looking at with, you know, I'd be checking out the quantum mechanics computers and stuff like that, and the cloning and how they're transhumanism and stuff going on right now, right? How they change the sound when they record. And I have these vinyl records that I really enjoy. You know, I got these old records, and sometimes I order some and I have some record players. I'm hoping, I got a little generator and this little record player, and I'm hoping that I can that there's enough power on this generator, and I ordered the right thing so they can power this little record player, portable record player that I have. So I can take it to the park and hear that vinyl sound on the speakers. We're gonna see. I have this big music issue, but we're trying to work it out. But the bottom line is, I love the sound of vinyl records. Okay. I was wondering, do you like the sound of vinyl versus digital? The sound is just so rich, and I was wondering why. So I started to look it up from that comment that I heard. And what I found is a nice big old fire truck. And I think it may have to do with the carbon-based, you know, vinyl can hold a lot more information and the grooves and stuff of that record. And then the hole in the middle, it does something with the acoustics, with the way that it spins and the way the music is being leveled out. It holds a lot more I want to say spirit, you know, in it, where I didn't know that digital sound, although you can crank it up and do so many different things with digital sound these days, is missing something. It's missing information. It's actually missing information in the sound, in the way that it hits our ears and stuff like that, and the way that it's traveling. Airway versus the carbon on the record, right? Reverberating through a different path in your ears with all that. Spirit kind of still attached to it. It's strange. Made me think of how they're taking buildings and infusing them with spirit. How you can go into certain buildings and you can just feel this spirit in it. You know, they do encase certain things, and they do rituals and stuff like that with granite statues and stuff. I've seen it. I've come across certain things like dowsers, and you can just feel it, because that's my personality style. I can feel it. So looking at that, thank you for the hearts too. Looking at the lack of information that happens when you go digital, and this information highway, that's really saying something. And I was wondering, right? Since I was wondering about the music and it led me to that, it connected me to some other studies with the DNA and the clones, right? And the conversation, people are wondering whether clones have souls or not, or whether they're void. You know, I was wondering that stuff too. And as I run into the situation with the music and how zeros and ones are void of a certain level of information, although it seems more deceiving that it would have more, but no. And I'm not talking about the quantum D-wave computer, which is like supposed to be the most massive computer on the planet. I'm just talking about digital sound and information. Like, we absorb information in so many different ways we were unaware of. Like the fact that water can hold information, right? So remember back in the 80s and 90s, you know, you maybe even now, you'd play a record and they'd say if you played it backwards you could hear things. That stuff was in, you knew that stuff was in the subconscious. Play that heavy metal or rock and roll music and they say if you play that record backwards you can hear the devil or them saying some stuff to you. Yeah, we know now that the Disney cartoons had symbolism and subliminal messaging embedded in a lot of these things, you know, the Disney Mulan and all that kind of stuff, right? And we're absorbing the new information that we got and trying to, some of us, figure out what we can do with it, wondering what can we do with all this stuff that we're learning. So when it comes to DNA, just like music, right? If you play music live, it has all the memory and context and embedding. If you're there when it's played live, you have a whole another set of embedding going on, you know? And we're learning from that, and it is affecting our DNA. In the same way that, did you know, because I was wondering some stuff before, and that's what led me to this information, wondering. It all starts with an idea. Drums affect our DNA and actually promote healing and learning. Yeah. A while ago, they had this drumming session at Naugatuck Valley Community College. And the drummer was there to talk about the holistic and therapeutic values of drumming. And I forget the guy's name, but I did tape him, and it's in my footage somewhere. But he was awesome. And he spoke about how drums increase your IQ. They help with anxiety. In fact, I'm really looking for some drumming situation. I was thinking about a meetup, you know, where we could just get our instruments and learn about sound and frequency, you know, and just stick with the holistic benefits of sound and frequency and color and dance and just movement and just be together with whatever little instrument we have and make sound, you know. And you know, I'm also a certified laughter facilitator. Yes, I am. I'll make you laugh. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into natural sound, even the sounds of our voice versus digital sound. I feel it's aversive when I go to listen to information, especially the type that we're talking about, transhumanism and all this other stuff, and people will put it into digital sound. I've heard people complain about artificial intelligence. I've looked up information on targeted individuals where they talk about AI and the use of AI, and they're using a digital sound voice. It's not even a real voice, and how that felt off, you know, when we go to make our decisions. It just felt a little off. You know, so the balance in the pole needs to be there. Is the clone missing parts in the same way, I wonder, right? That digital music and sound is missing parts in the essence of spirit that's actually noted when you talk about voice and you talk about being there for live music, right? Is it live or is it Memorex? Missing parts. It made me think about religion and where it came from and the foundation of it all. You know, the Black Madonna, the triple black goddess. You know, I used to wonder why they wore dresses and kissed the statue of the Ugula, of Regina, okay? Where everything comes from, the black hole, the essence, all the trickery on words, you know. English is really funny. Okay, the cross. I used to wonder about the cross. Why don't they take that guy off the cross? And then there was, from wondering, it led to information about, oh, Jesus is not supposed to be on the cross. He's supposed to be off the cross because he's, you know, been vindicated. He's saved. He's risen. He's not on that cross anymore. Started to wonder about visual stuff and why we were always seeing that, you know. Why did it have to be, this Jesus have to be portrayed in a particular race and gender at all times? The guy looked the same way, you know, but he was a depiction of all people. I started to wonder about that, especially when you look at genealogy and the state of the world and where people started out from and how they were hot climates and stuff like that, you know, and you know that although we migrated and stuff, you know what I'm saying? People started out with a darker complexion, and then we migrated to these different places. So the missing parts and the information that I was coming apart made me wonder what's going on. You know, I started to see some kind of weird collaboration happening in the background. You know, I didn't particularly like being aware of it, because what can you do when you start to see that an entire people within a system is being duped of the essence, just like it's so much better on vinyl than it is on digital. It's so much better, I would assume, a real person than a clone. Is it live or is it Memorex? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I met a clone. So you can't quote me on that and say that it's factual. Well, I'm assuming that if they're anything like the music, like how much I love vinyl records, that I was willing to buy a portable record player and a little generator just so I could share that sound and that experience with you that I love, you know, with the dancing and the therapeutic dance and stuff. Yeah, missing parts of us, the parts we want to show and experience, you know, that lively part of us. I noticed the demonization of women and the copying of women, right? The copying of Kemet culture. And I was wondering, what is up with that? What is being hidden? Why is the copying there? Why is it okay to copy something, but the essence of where that thing came from is not okay? I was wondering about that. All this wandering around, you know, through these different dogmas, systems, history, sciences, theology. Looking for practical application. You know, what makes sense? You know? Even the mudra and the stretching and the breathing in order to channel energies. I actually, the fire truck is right in front of me. It's just a weird scene, the way things happen sometimes. And I have to learn to block out. Those of you who know that the reason why this is also a great name, Regina's Rabbit Hole, you know, is because so many different things affect us and are going on. And I touch so many different topics in my research. Today I'm going to call Wandering Wednesday, you know, because we're always wandering and wondering about things, you know, through information and through life. Humpback Wednesday, trying to get over something, you know. And the W and the M, you know, the magnetism of Humpback Wednesday and wandering. I thought it was a cool name. I'll work with it. We don't know how. We're just going to wonder about it. I told you I'm a laughter facilitator. It's very therapeutic. So those of you who are wondering why I make jokes about everything, is you need your sense of humor if you were wondering about that. We're wondering, right? Okay, so I started to see the copy of our chemic culture, okay? And the building structures and the use of the courthouses, the churches. They're built like a computer. They're built to harness energy and to channel energy. The priestesses and stuff used to use this method. Like they say there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is a copy. We used to have rotary phones. You put your finger in and you enter the number and you roll it around. And then you take your finger out and you let it go. And then you put your finger in to the next number and you roll it around. And then you take your finger out and it'll go back to the number again. And then you put your finger in and you roll it around. Talk about patience. I think we had more patience. We're into the microwave age. I was wondering about that. How do we get anything done? Everything is lightning speed, but are we really experiencing what we're doing? Are we connected to what we're doing at all anymore? Or as much, right? Children don't go outside. I'm wondering about that, you know? Children don't wander as much as they used to. Or wonder. They're overly stimulated and bombarded with video games and, you know, I'm not going to name any of them, you know, but there's a lot of them. Very colorful, and as long as bombs are flying and there's a lot of noise and flashing lights and stuff like that, they're preoccupied and they'll stay out of your face while, you know, we do whatever, you know. So the essence of us gives off an energy, and that has been collected, and it has been being collected. That's not new. And therefore, in case you're wondering why they keep copying certain structures and layouts of particular places, like courthouses have the same layout, you know, and a lot of churches have the same layout. This is the reason why. You are the battery, like the Matrix. What? Yeah. And that person who's giving the sermon doesn't necessarily have to know exactly what they're doing. They just have to have the motive. Matter of fact, it'll probably help that they didn't. So that it'd be more genuine and sincere, and that unauthentic vibration would not come through the occasion. You know, like being there in church and feeling the essence of all that. In the same way, you feel a concert, or, you know, or somebody in front of you singing, you know, and stuff to you. And it's not. And it's live. It's not Memorex. You know what I'm saying? So I started to wonder about that. What is going on? Why is this stuff looking the same? And why? I saw a movie once, and I can't remember the name of it. The name of it is like, you know, something is in your mind is like floating there, but I don't have time to sit there and brain fart it out. That's when you sit there and you really try to figure out what it is, and then sometimes you can't, other times you can't. I'm wondering, but I'm not wondering about it that much, but enough to say that the movie, I think maybe it was Plainville, it was black and white, and as the movie went on, it turned into color. It turned into color. It was just reminding me of our life, you know, the copying, and how, I noticed we weren't getting anything new. And I was wondering about that. We were getting combinations of stuff. We were getting the toaster was the same toaster, okay? They threw some color on it. The car is the same car, is what I'm getting at. Particular things changed, like the phone turning to, then we had the beepers. And then we have what I'm using right now, this cell phone, which can do so many different things, right? You can do your taxes on this thing. You can write a paper for school. You can tape something for a show or information. There's so many different apps. If you don't have it, you can download it on. It's glued to us to the hip now. We're carrying around our computers, our portable selves. We put a whole bunch of information in there, our pictures. We put a lot of stuff in there. All the phone numbers. I don't remember the numbers anymore. From when that little phone, then you just... And when you had to write the number down for the beeper so that you could remember who it was, the book was calling you, you had to remember pay phones and stuff like that, the old ones. I don't have to remember numbers anymore. I just pick up my phone, and if it's programmed in there, I'm good. I was wondering, is that a good thing? I mean, yeah, on one hand, let's look at the poll. I can access more people, right? I mean, I could have wrote it down. I don't have to have the phone. You know, we had address books, right? We have phone books. Shoot, how big is that freaking phone book? My daddy used to sit me on top of those phone books so I could see over the dashboard. They were so thick. I was like 5. So there's some pretty thick yellow books. They're not as thick anymore. You know? I was just wondering about that. The use of our ley lines, copying. Copying the essence of things. Copying the essence of us. Repackaging us. Repackaging experiences. I find myself, sometimes I'll watch pictures of trees on TV because I can't get to them. Landscapes and environments with waterfalls and deers and birds and flowers and mountains and freaking water and streams and imagine the way it smells. Oh my gosh, it looks so freaking stimulating and invigorating. And because it's a copy of the nature, it can feel almost like I'm there. And did you know, in case you were wondering, I don't think you were wondering about this, but you could have been, right? Okay, well, let me tell you what it is. Maybe I won't. Oh, that would be defeating the purpose, wouldn't it? But remember, I'm a laughter facilitator. I just wanted to remind you of that. Back to what I was saying. The landscape induces holistic therapeutic healing. Yeah, they did studies way back. I don't know. That's just to say that I don't remember the exact date. Where people who had surgery, they're sitting in a hospital room. The rooms with a window of some trees or some outside, those people recovered more. The rooms that just had that sterile clinical environment that didn't have the window, they didn't do as well. They didn't heal as well. The recovery time was a lot longer. I thought that was fascinating. In case you were wondering about the healing therapeutic values of being outside or just looking at foliage, okay, that's a tool, that's a tip. When stuff gets stressful and gets crazy, you can always go back and even look. Just looking upon what is natural, what is real. Remember we were talking about vinyl versus digital. Is it live or is it Memorex? A real experience and a copy of a real thing versus... You ever look at a fake flower or a plant, like you think it's real, and then you go over to touch it to get that other, and to embed the experience on a different level, and it's just plastic! I don't know, plastic! I really hate it when that happens. It's happened. It's happened to me. It's happening. Does that happen when you meet a clone? Does it? Do we think we're meeting real people and then you get around them and it's like flagellant? Does that happen? It happens. It can happen. But I don't know if they were a clone. Okay? It could just be personality stuff. You know, we do that. So they use our ley lines. The ley lines hold in, because I was wondering about this, right? As an empath, when I was little, they gave me this stick. I used to live in this children's home called Curtis Home in Meriden, Connecticut. And they used to show us how to do a lot of little things. I learned how to do so many little things. There's book making and cake making and wood carving and working with copper and all kinds of crafts. There's archery and sledding, and they did a lot of things with us little children. And one of the things that they showed me how to do, I just forgot what I was talking about, was douse. That's what it was. People who are sensitive can feel water. They had the stick that they gave me, and I thought it was a bunch of quack. We were interrupted, excuse me. Yeah, I didn't get it. But I do now that I can actually feel myself, that I can take the time to hear my own thoughts, that I can separate different frequencies when I want to, when I choose to. I know when to retreat. When I'm wondering about something and I deviate, I decide to pay attention and zero in on a particular thing, right? I was noticing the ley lines. I would be walking down the street and I would feel a particular way when I came upon certain buildings. Certain areas would give me feelings that other ones didn't. And I would wonder, is it my eyes tricking me? And I would wander around, try to get a feel of what it was. It was weird, you know. I would come closer to it, and then I would try to figure out, one of those weird people that you wonder what it is they're doing. What the heck are they doing? They're feeling stuff, because that's the way they were designed. And those people, some of them you call dowsers, and they can feel the energy and the ley lines. And it's the use of the ley lines that has a spiritual essence attached to it. That same spiritual essence, that's us. That's attached to our history, our ancestry, our DNA, our spirit. Okay? A matter of fact, in case you were wondering, I came across this when I was wandering through my studies, looking at the Moors and the monsoons. I came across the Moors, right? I was looking at ley lines, I was looking at water, and I was looking at the moon and gravity. I started looking at ley lines, of course, so I was in that area, learning about natural things and feelings and this feeling in me, right? And I learned, and some of the dogma or the research, that the energy coming off of the water, they call the monsoon, it's actually spirits. Some of them, it depends on how we look at things and how we perceive them. The essence of the earth itself moving across the waters during certain astrological or seasonal times, during certain times when the magnetic force lines up for it to do so. In the same way that the planetary alignment has changed, and unleashing the ability for us to elevate ourselves above the station where we were. In case you were wondering, why is it that we can learn now and we were not able to before? The Vikings would ride on the winds of the monsoons. And the Moors and the Vikings, spirit and DNA got me wondering, about spirit and DNA. Is it live or is it Memorex? The kind of force that our spirit has for healing. The fact that we are the essence of the earth and a mere freaking picture can induce a more rapid healing time. Can calm us down. Focusing on the leaves of a tree or a bush can actually develop relationships with foliage. Don't be silly. Not in the same kind of relationships that we have with each other, like Facebook, where we have these real relationships. Well, we can't touch each other. But that tree over there I can touch. And it sends off a signal. Plant life sends off a signal that can actually be recorded. It's a matter of perception. Somebody had to perceive that that access was there, that that frequency and vibration was accessible. Thank you. Somebody said, I love your observation. Thank you. And I love you guys' organization. Because I'm observing a lot. But I'm observing, right? I was wondering, what does it feel like to be organized? What does it feel like? We'll get there though. You know we will. Okay? I'm gonna latch on to one of you organized people. Watch that. Yep. So we're looking at spirit and we're looking at DNA. You know, how the actual essences of certain things affect us in a deeper way. Know if you heard my last talk where I was talking about timelines and the dimensions, okay? Time travel. I'm not getting into that right now. I don't think. If spirit leads me, fine. But where I was headed at is the essence and the spirit in our DNA. And we know there's supposed to be in a time when the planet is doing upgrades. Everything is upgrading. And it's those people who are able to hone in on, pay attention to, tap into the more natural part of self. They're able to get this, realizing that we are connected to one another and that, okay, I got this perception and you have yours and it's all right. It's all right. What I can choose to do is to repel it and ignore your perception, or actually take a look at it, spin it around, you know what I'm saying? Turn it upside down, you know, smack it like it's hot. With your idea and your perception, I can choose if I'm free, right? If I'm free, I can look at it and get so much benefit. If it's real, if it's natural, if the essence is something we can share in the same way that Earth shares with us. Some people bend that, they twist it, and they do things with it because they feel like they have a right to. Perhaps they do, yeah? They're doing it. They must feel like they have a right to. But there's other people, that's where free will comes on. Have a right to say, you can get with this or you can get with that. I choose to be over here, you over there, yada yada. You do you, but you don't have the right to impress your zeros and ones on me. If I don't want it, I can go vinyl. I can sing. I can beat my own drum. I can make my own music if I choose to. There's a number of different choices. I can go buy the old rotary phone. It's actually still available. I actually had one. I like that little phone. But, you know, I don't really make a lot of phone calls. So for me, if I make one phone call a day, that's a miracle. I know, I'm going to change that. Like I said, I'm not the organized one. I'm just the inquisitive one. I observe things. I'm busy looking while other people are pressing buttons and stuff like that. Those other things. But that's what makes us so interesting and unique. If everything was a rose or a daffodil, if everything was a bush instead of a tree, if everything was a pine tree instead of a mighty oak too, oh my gosh. And I think that's what the Creator did. Can we get some variety here? And something said, yes, observing that we probably need that, let's spit out 50 different kinds of birds, okay? And leave the chickens alone, will you? Leave them alone. Poor chickens. Okay, spirit and DNA. I'm just playing with you. But that's me. That's my spirit. That's my essence. That's who I am, and that's what makes us all lovely. Is who we are, who we really are. Getting at that through all the other stuff. All the digital, candy-coated, mass-produced, directed stuff. Like Girl Interrupted, Man Interrupted kind of stuff. We're falling for Tinseltown, falling for the shiny-ish. And you got to watch out for the shiny-ish. You know, because while we're watching the shiny stuff, oh, isn't that so pretty? Oh, that's exciting. Oh, look at that fight. Is that real? It's him again, the orange man. While we're doing that, there's something shaking us in the backside with something that we were unawares of. There's a consequence to not paying attention or paying too much attention, just like me not being organized. You know, still trying to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? So there's a balance that we have to this stuff. And sometimes people go overboard with this transhumanism and the cloning, you know, messing with DNA and chopping down all these trees and what they're doing to the little chickens. You know, it's horrible in the world sometimes when you think of all this nonsense. And I wonder, where is it all going? What's it all for? You know? It's energy. It's inner chi. It's energy. It's kundalini. It's our sexual energy, the desires, and our will. What we want to bring into existence, and that we are... It's the essence of us. This is the stuff that's in us. This is what we want, and that's why it's here for us to see. In the same way that we're doing this together right now, instead of watching World Star or Fight or the Orange Guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, those choices are still there, and maybe we'll still apply them. But we'll also have this too, to add to it. A different essence. Now, how they're messing with the essence, I was wondering about this. Look at the DNA, the GMOs, Big Pharma, HARP, SHRM, artificial intelligence, military policing systems, the new frontier is the data analyst stuff. It's the security. The new frontier is security. Jobs with cohort stuff and with electronics and stuff. And to get people off of you in regards to electronic harassment and all this other stuff. You know, so that's basically where we're at right now. So all these zeros and ones, this digital sound, and me thinking that, okay, well, the age of technology, I can obviously touch a lot more information now. But as far as practical application, actually merging with it, merging with the paper, when it comes to universal law, when it comes to embedding shareable waves, right? The paper, the actual sign is a symbol that's used in our chemet theology information. I'll come across the different sounds that a pen makes, a pencil makes, a carbonated pencil makes moving across the paper is actually what made me think of the vinyl and the, you know, and the needle of the vinyl and how sound moves through the earth when I was doing my research on that part. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with what we're doing in a different way versus being desensitized and unaware as to the different ways in which we embed and we receive information. Children touch and they taste, want to know, and we still do it, but we don't want anybody to know. We do it on the low. What does that feel like, taste like? You see people in the store, in the museum. I do it because they say, when it says do not touch, I want to touch it. You know, I was the one when they said it's hot, don't touch it because it's fire. Yeah, but fire does stuff, dude. Yeah, fire is good. Fire cooks foods. Fire, it separates, takes the grass off so you can plant, right? Fire lets the pine cones fly. We need the fire. So anyway, yeah. That might not be a good idea if you have a mother that doesn't think that that's funny. But anyway. Yeah, so just talking about the essence of us and the difference between, that's what I was wondering about on this Wednesday. Yep. It's Wednesday, and I was just wondering, putting the stuff together from the different conversations, you know, that I've had, or things that I've seen, that I've been looking over recently. And so, yeah, let me know what you're wondering about. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole, Wandering Wednesday. I'm wondering. I don't know what time it's going to be at all. But remember, I'm a laughter facilitator, so I should be able to get away with things like that. Do you think? You love me anyway. I love you too. Thank you, and much love to you and yours. I'm out. Thank you for being with me.